Muhammadu Buhari GCFR, born 17 December 1942, is a Nigerian politician who served as President of Nigeria since 2015. Buhari is a retired Nigerian Army Major General who served as the country's military head of state from 31st December 1983 to 27 August 1985, after taking power in a military coup d'etat. The term Buharism is ascribed to the authoritarian policies of his military regime. Buhari ran for President of Nigeria on platform and support of All Nigerian People's Party ANPP in 2003, 2007, and 2011. In December 2014, he emerged as the presidential candidate of All Progressive Congress Party for the 2015 general election. Buhari won the election, defeating incumbent President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. This was the first time in history of Nigeria that an incumbent president lost a general election. He was sworn in on 29 May 2015. In February 2019, Buhari was re-elected, defeating his closest rival, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, by over 3 million votes. Buhari was born to a Fulani family on 17 December 1942 in Katsina State. His father was called Malam Adamu, a Fulani chieftain from Dumkal in Maiwadua, and his mother, whose name was Zulaihat, had Hausa and Kanuri ancestry. He is the 23rd child of his father and was named after 9th century Persian Islamic scholar Muhammad al-Bukhari. Buhari was raised by his mother. He was about 4 years old when his father died. He attended primary school in Daura and in Maiwadua in 1953, Katsina Middle School, and attended the Katsina Provincial Secondary School in Katsina State from 1956 to 1961. In 1962, at the age of 19, Buhari enrolled in the Nigerian Military Training College (NMTC). In February 1964, the college was upgraded to an officer commissioning unit of Nigerian Army and renamed the Nigerian Defense Academy (NDA). Prior to the 1964, the Nigeria government sent cadets who had completed their NMTC preliminary training to mostly Commonwealth military academies for officer cadet training. From 1962 to 1963, Buhari underwent officer cadet training at Mons Officer Cadet School in Aldershot in England. In January 1963, at the age of 20, Buhari was commissioned a second lieutenant and appointed platoon commander of the 2nd Infantry Battalion in Abeokuta, Nigeria. From November 1963 to January 1964, Buhari attended the platoon commander's course at Nigerian Military Training College, Kaduna. In 1964, he facilitated his military training by attending the Mechanical Transport Officers course at Army Mechanical Transport School in Borden, United Kingdom. From 1965 to 1967, Buhari served as commander of 2nd Infantry Battalion and was appointed Brigadier Major, 2nd Sector, 1st Infantry Division. April 1967 to January 1967, following the bloody 1966 Nigerian coup d'etat, which resulted in the death of Premier Muhammadu Bello, Lieutenant Buhari, alongside several younger officers from northern Nigeria, took part in the July counter coup which ousted General Ironsi Awiyi, replacing him with General Yakubu Gowon. Civil War. Buhari was assigned to the 1st Division under the command of Lieutenant Colonel Mohammed Shua. The division had temporarily moved from Kaduna to Makadi at the onset of Nigerian Civil War. The 1st Division was divided into sectors and then battalions, with Shua assisted by sector commanders Martin Adam and Sure Apollo, who was later replaced by Theophilus Danjuma. Buhari's initial assignment was as adjutant and company commander to battalion unit. 2nd Sector Infantry of the 1st Division. The 2 Battalion was one of the units that participated in the first actions of the war. They started from Gakem near Afikpo and moved towards Ogoja with support from Gardona's Corps' artillery squad. They reached and captured Ogoja within a week, with intention of advancing through the flanks to Enugu, the rebel capital. Buhari was briefly the 2nd Battalion's commander and led the battalion to Afikpo to link with the 3rd Marine Commando and advance towards Enugu through Nkaragu and Abakaliki. However, before the move to Enugu, he was posted to Nsukka as brigade major of the 3rd Infantry Brigade under Joshua Jean, who would later become battle-fatigued and replaced by Issa Bukar. Buhari stayed with the infantry for a few months as the Nigerian Army began to adjust tactics learned from early battle experiences. Instead of swift advances, the new tactics involved securing and holding on to the lines of communications and use captured towns as training ground to train new recruits brought in from the army depots in Abeokuta and Zaria. In 1968, he was posted to the 4th Sector, also called the Aqua Sector, which was charged with taking over the capture of Onitsha from Division 2. The sector's operations were within the Oka, Abagana, Onitsha region, which was important to Biafran forces because it was a major source of food supply. It was in the sector that Buhari's group suffered a lot of casualties trying to protect the food supplies route of the rebels along Oji River and Abagana. After the war, from 1970 to 1971, Buhari was Brigade Major Commandant 31st Infantry Brigade. He then served as Assistant Adjutant General, 1st Infantry Division Headquarters. From 1971 to 1972, he also attended the Defence Service Staff College, Wellington, India. In 1973, from 1974 to 1975, Buhari was Acting Director of Transport and Supply at Nigerian Army Corps of Supply and Transport Headquarters. In the 1975 military coup d'etat, Lieutenant Colonel Buhari was among a group of officers that brought General Murtala Muhammad to power. He was later appointed governor of the northeastern state from the 1st August 1975 to the 3rd February 1976 to oversee social, economics, and political improvement in the state. On 3rd February 1976, the northern eastern state was divided into three states: Bauchi, Borno, and Gongola. Buhari then became the first governor of Borno State from 3rd February 1976 to 15th March 1976. In March 1976, following the botched 1976 military coup attempt which led to the assassination of General Muhammadu Buhari, his deputy General Olusegun Obasanjo became the military head of state and appointed Colonel Buhari as Federal Commissioner of Petroleum and Natural Resources, now Minister, in 1977. When the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation was created, Buhari was appointed as its chairman, a position he held until 1978. During the tenure as the Federal Commissioner for Petroleum and Natural Resources, the government invested in pipeline and petrol storage infrastructures. The government built about 21 petroleum storage depots all over the country, from Lagos to Maiduguri and from Calabar to Gusau. The administration constructed a pipeline network that connected Bonny Terminal and the Port Harcourt Refinery to the depots. Also, the administration assigned the contract to the construction of refinery in Kaduna and oil pipe that will connect the Esclavos oil terminal to Wari Refinery and the proposed Kaduna Refinery. From 1978 to 1979, he was military secretary at Army Headquarters and was a member of Supreme Military Council from 1978 to 1979. From 1979 to 1980, at the rank of Colonel Buhari, class of 1980, attended the U.S. Army War College in Caliso, Pennsylvania in the United States, and gained a master's degree in strategic studies. Upon completion of the on-campus full-time resident program lasting 10 months and the 2 years long distance learning program, the United States Army War College USWC awarded its graduate officers a master's degree in strategic studies. Divisional commands held in the Nigerian Army. General Officer commanding 4th Infantry Division, August 1980 to January 1991. General Officer commanding 2nd Mechanized Infantry Division, January 1981 to October 1981. General Officer commanding 3rd Armored Division, October 1981 to December 1983. Coup d'etat of 1983. Major General Buhari was one of the leaders of military coup of December 1983 that overthrew the Second Nigerian Republic. At the time of the coup plot, Buhari was the general officer commanding GOS, 3rd Armored Division of Jos, with the successful execution of coup by General Buhari. Tunde Aidiagbo was appointed Chief of General Staff, the de facto number 2 in the administration. The coup ended Nigeria's short-lived Second Republic. A period of multi-party democracy revived in 1979 after 13 years of military rule. According to the New York Times, the officer who took power argued that a flawed democracy was worse than no democracy at all. Buhari justified the military seizure of power by castigating the civilian government as hopelessly corrupted and promptly suspended the constitution. Another rationale for the coup was to correct economic decline in Nigeria. In the military's first broadcast after the coup, Sani Abacha linked an inept and corrupt leadership with general economic decline. In Buhari's New Year's Day speech, he too mentioned the corrupt class of the Second Republic, but also as the cause of general decline in morality in society. Buhari as head of state in 1983 to 1985, consolidation of power, the structure of new military leadership, the fifth in Nigeria since independence, resembled the last military regime, the Obasanjo-Yar'Adua administration. The new regime established a supreme military council, a federal executive council, and a council of states. The number of ministries was trimmed to 18, while the administration carried out the retrenchment exercise among the senior ranks of the civil service and police. It retired 17 permanent secretaries and some senior police and navy officers. In addition to the new military administration promulgated new laws to achieve its aim. These laws included the robbery and firearms special provision, decree for the prosecution of armed robbery cases, and the state security detention of person decree, which gave powers to the military to detain individuals suspected of jeopardizing state security or causing economic adversity. Other decrees included the Civil Service Commissioner and Public Offender Decree, which constituted the legal and administrative basis to conduct a purge in the civil service. According to the Decree Number 2 of 1984, the State Security and the Chief of Staff were given the power to detain without charges individuals deemed to be a security risk to the state for up to 3 months. Strikes and popular demonstrations were banned, and Nigeria's security agents, the National Security Organization (NSO), was entrusted with unprecedented powers. The NSO played a wide role in the cracking down of public dissent by intimidating, harassing, and jailing individuals who broke the interdiction on strikes. By October 1984, about 200,000 civil servants were retrenched. Buhari mounted an offense against entrenched interests. In 20 months as head of state, about 500 politicians, officers, and businessmen were jailed for corruption during his stewardship. Detained were released after releasing sums of government and agreed to meet sums to the government and agreeing to meet certain conditions. The regime also jailed in its critics, including Fela Kuti. He was arrested on 1st September 1984 at the airport as he was about to embark on an American tour. Amnesty International described the charge brought against him for illegal exporting foreign currency as spurious, using the wide powers bestowed upon it by Decree Number 2. The government sentenced Fela to 5 years in prison. He was released after 18 months when the Buhari regime was overthrown. In 1984, Buhari passed the Decree Number 4, the Protection Against False Accusation Decree, considered by scholars as the most pervasive press law ever enacted in Nigeria. Section 1 of the law provided that any person who publishes in any form, whenever written or otherwise, any message, rumor, report, or statement which is false in any material, particular, or which brings or is calculated to bring the federal military government or government of a state or public officer to ridicule or disrepute shall be guilty of an offence under this decree. The law further stated that offending journalists and publishers will be tried by an open military tribunal whose ruling would be final and unappealable in any court, and those found guilty would be eligible for a fine not less than 10,000 naira and a jail sentence of up to 2 years. Economic. In order to reform the economy, as head of state, Buhari started to rebuild the nation's social, political, and economic system along the realities of Nigeria's austere economic conditions. The rebuilding included removing or cutting back the excessive in national expenditure, obliterating or removing completely corruption from the national social ethic, shifting from main public sector employment to self-employment. Buhari also encouraged import substitution industrialization based to a greater extent on the use of local material. However, tightening of imports led to reduction in raw materials for industries, causing many industries to operate below capacities, reduction of workers, and in some cases, business closure. Buhari broke ties with the International Monetary Fund when the fund asked the government to devalue the naira by 60%. However, the reforms that Buhari instigated on this on his own were as or more rigorous as those required by the IMF. On 7th May 1984, Buhari announced the country's 1994 national budget. The budget became with a series of complementary measures, a temporary ban on recruiting federal public sector workers, raising of interest rates, halting capital projects, prohibiting of borrowing by state governments, 15% cut from Shagari's 1983 budget, realignment of import duties, reducing the balance of payment deficit by cutting imports. It also gave priority to the importation of raw materials and spare parts that were needed for agriculture and industry. Other economic measures by Buhari took the forms of counter trade, current change price reduction of goods and services. His economic policies did not earn him the legitimacy of masses due to the rise in inflation and use of military might to continue to push many policies blamed for the rise in the food prices. Mass social mobilization. One of the most enduring legacies of Buhari government has been the war against indiscipline, launched on 20 March 1984. The policy tried to address the perceived lack of public morality and civic responsibilities of Nigerian society. Unreal Nigerians were ordered to form neat queues at bus stations under the eyes of whip-wielding soldiers. Civil servants who failed to show up on time at work were humiliated and forced to do frog jumps. Minor offenses carried long sentences. Any student over the age of 17 caught cheating on an exam would get 21 years in prison. Counterfeiting and arson would lead to the death penalty. Buhari's administration enacted three decrees to investigate corruption and control foreign exchange. The banking freezing of the accounts declared of 1984 allotted to the federal Nigeria federal military government to the power to freeze bank accounts of persons suspected to have committed fraud. The recovery of public property special military tribunal declared permitted to the government to investigate the assets of the public officials linked with corruption and constitute a military tribunal to try such persons. The Exchange Control Anti-Sabotage declared stated penalties for the violator of foreign exchange laws. Declare 20 on illegal ship brokering and drug trafficking was another example of Buhari's tough approach to crime. Section 3, bracket 2K provided that any person who, without lawful authority, deal in, sell, smoke, or inhale the drug known as cocaine or other similar drug shall be guilty under Section 6, 3K of an offense and liable on conviction to suffer death sentence by firing squad. In the case of Bernard Ojede Ngebe, the decree was applied retroactively. He was executed even if at the time of his arrest the crime did not mandate the capital punishment, but had carried down a sentence of 6 months imprisonment. In other prominent cases of April 1985, 6 Nigerians were condemned to death under the same decree. In 1985, prompted by economic uncertainties and a rising crime rate, the government of Buhari opened the borders closed since April 1984 with Benin, Nigeria, Chad, and Cameroon to speed up the expulsion of 700,000 illegal foreigners and illegally immigrant workers. Buhari is today known for this crisis. There even is a family in the east of Nigeria that have been named El Buhari. His regime drew criticism from many, including Nigeria's first Nobel Prize winner, Sorinke Wole, who in 2007 wrote a piece called The Crimes of Buhari, which outlined many of the abuses conducted under his military rule. Ahead of 2015 general election, Buhari responded to his human rights criticism by saying that if elected, he would follow the rules of law and that there would be access to justice for all Nigerians and respect for fundamental human rights of Nigerians. Coup d'etat of 1985. In August 1985, Major General Buhari was overthrown in a coup led by General Ibrahim Babangida and other members of ruling Supreme Military Council (SMC). Babangida brought many of Buhari's most vocal critics into his administration, including Fela Kuti's brother Orikoye Ransome Kuti, a doctor who have led a strike against Buhari to protest declining health care services. Buhari was then detained in Benin City until 1988. Presidency from 1985 to 2015. Detention. Buhari spent 3 years of detention in a small guarded bungalow in Benin. He had access to television that showed 2 channels and members of his family were allowed to visit him on the authorization of Babangida. Civilian life. In December 1988, After his mother's death, he was released and retired to his residence in Daura. While on detention, his farm was managed by his relatives. He divorced his first wife in 1988 and married Aisha Halilu in Katsina. He became the pioneer chairman of Katsina Foundation that was founded to encourage social and economic development in Katsina State. Buhari served as the chairman of Petroleum Trustee Fund, a body created by the government of General Sani Abacha and funded from the revenue generated by the increase in the price of petroleum products to pursue development projects around the country. In 1998 report in New African praised the PTF under Buhari for its transparency, calling it a rare success story. Presidential campaigns and election. 2003 presidential election. In 2003, Buhari ran for office in the presidential elections as the candidate of the All Nigerian People's Party (ANPP). He was defeated by the People's Democratic Party incumbent President Olusegun Obasanjo by more than 11 million votes. 2007 presidential elections. On 18 December 2006, Buhari was nominated as the consensus candidate of the All Nigerian People's Party. His main challenger in the April 2007 polls was the ruling PDP candidate Umaru Yar'Adua, who hailed from the same home state of Katsina. Buhari officially took 18% of the votes to Yar'Adua's 70%, but Buhari rejected these results. After Yar'Adua took office, he called for a government of national unity to bring on board aggrieved opposition members. The ANPP joined the government with appointment of its national chairman as a member of Yar'Adua's cabinet, but Buhari denounced this agreement. 2011 presidential election. In March 2010, Buhari left the ANPP for the Congress for Progress Change (CPC), a party he has helped to found. He said that he had supported the foundation of the CPC as a solution to the debilitating ethical and ideological conflicts in my former party, the ANPP. Buhari was the CPC presidential candidate in the 2011 election, running against incumbent President Goodluck Jonathan of the People Democratic Party (PDP), Malam Nuhu Ribadu of Action Congress of Nigeria (ACN), and Ibrahim Shekarau of ANPP. They were the major contender among 20 candidates. Buhari campaigned on anti-corruption platform and pledged to remove immunity protections from government officials. He also gave support to enforcement of Sharia law in Nigeria's Nelson states, which had previously caused him political difficulties among Christian voters in the country's south. The elections were marred by widespread sectarian violence, which claimed that lives of 800 people across the country as Buhari's supporters attacked Christian settlements in the country's central region. A three-day uprising was blamed in parts of Buhari's inflammatory comments. In spite of assurances from Human Rights Watch, which has judged the elections among the fairest in the Nigerian history, Buhari claimed that the vote were fraud and warned that if what happened in 2011 should again happen in 2015, by the grace of God, the dog and the baboon would all be soaked in the blood. Buhari remained a folk hero to some for his vocal opposition to corruption. He won 12 million votes, coming in the second to Jonathan, who pulled 22 million votes and was declared the winner. 2015 presidential elections. Buhari ran in the 2015 presidential election as a candidate of All Progressive Congress Party. His platform was built around his image as a staunch anti-corruption fighter and his incorruptible and honest reputation, but he said he would not probe past corrupt leaders and would give officials who stole in the past amnesty if they repented. In the run-up to the 2015 elections, Jonathan's campaign asked that Buhari be disqualified from election, claiming that he was in breach of constitution. According to the fundamental document, in order to qualify for election to the office of the president, a person must be educated up to at least school certificate level or its equivalent. Buhari failed to submit any such evidence, claiming that he lost the original copies of his diplomas when his house was raided following his overthrow from power in 1985. In May 2014, in the wake of Chibok girls' kidnapping, Buhari strongly denounced the Boko Haram insurgents. He urged Nigerians to put aside religion, politics, and all other divisions to crush the insurgents. He said in fund by mindless bigot masquerading as Muslim. In July 2014, Buhari escaped a bomb attack on his life by Boko Haram in Kaduna. 82 people were killed. In December 2014, Buhari pledged to enhance security in Nigeria if elected president. After his announcement, Buhari's approval rating skyrocketed, largely due to Jonathan's apparent inability to fight Boko Haram. Buhari made internal security and wiping out the militant group one of the key pillars of his campaign. In January 2015, insurgents group the Movement for Emancipation of Nigeria Delta meant endorsed Buhari. Buhari's campaign was briefly advised by former Obama campaign manager David Axelrod and his AKPD consultants. In February 2015, former Nigeria President Olusegun Obasanjo quit the ruling PDP party and endorsed Buhari. On March 21st, Jonathan called Buhari to concede and congratulate him on his election as president. Buhari was sworn in on 29th May 2015 in a ceremony attended by at least 23 heads of states and government. Presidency 2015 up to 2023. The economy has averaged a growth rate of 0.9% since the administration's first term. Unemployment is at all-time high of 23% and millions entered poverty. Since 2015, Buhari has lost supporters due to his perceived and energetic personality and contemplative decision-making. Cabinet. Buhari's key advisors, including his nephew Muhammadu Daula, businessman Ismaila Issa Funtua, political operator Baba Gana Kingibe, Abakari, the chief of staff to the president, and from the late stages of his first term, Boss Mustafa, the secretary to the government of the federation, empowering his chicken cabinet after his second inauguration. Buhari has stated his preference for the cabinet members seeking meetings or consultation to direct such a request through the chief of staff or through the government secretary. Since the Fourth Republic, ministerial positions are legally required to be composed of a federal ethno-demographic character with a minister representing each state of the federation. As a result of this, he created the outcoming of political considerations as an important factor in nominating ministers, as local party officials lacking in a merit-based style for cabinet positions. Nominations into Buhari's cabinet have been influenced by those political considerations and also closeness to the government and his inner cabinet. In August 2019, the president named his cabinet of predominantly male members with an average years of 60 and dominated by political actors or those close to the president. The cabinet includes two wealthy former governors from the Niger Delta, Timpere Silva and Godswill Akpobio, who were originally members of opposition party DPD, and 14 retained ministers, some of whom critics alleged have performed poorly and having a close relationship with a corrupt past head of state. Health. In May 2016, Buhari cancelled a two-day visit to Lagos to inaugurate projects in the state, but he was represented by Vice President Yemi Osibanjo after citing an eye infection suspected to be Meniere disease. On 6 June, Buhari traveled to the United Kingdom to seek medical attention. This happened days after the presidential spokesman, Femi Adesina, was quoted as saying Buhari was as fit as fiddle and hale and hearty. Too much discontent and criticism from political analysts and followers. In February 2017, following what were described as routine medical checkups in the UK, Buhari asked Parliament to extend his medical leave to await test results. His office did not give any further details on the health condition nor the expected date of his return. On 8 February, President Buhari personally signed a letter addressed to the President of Senate of Nigeria, alerting him of a further extension to his annual leave, leaving his vice president in charge. Following the absence of 51 days from office, President Buhari returned to Nigeria. He arrived at Kaduna Airport in the morning of March 10th. Although information was limited during his stay in London, he was pictured on March 9th meeting the most senior clerk of the World Anglican Congregation, Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby. Vice President Yemi Osibanjo remained in charge as acting president, while the president continued to recover in Abuja. The president has missed major official and public appearances just 2 months following his return to office from England. Most recently, he was absent from the Federal Executive Council (FEC) meeting, the Workers' Day event held at Eagle Square in Abuja on May 2017. Speculations about President Harris circulated in the public sphere in the days following President Buhari's wish to work from home. Some prominent Nigerian figures urged the president to take a long-term medical leave, citing his failure to make any public appearances over a two-week period. President Buhari again left Nigeria for a reported health checkup in London on 7th May 2017. President Buhari returned to Nigeria after his medical leave in the United Kingdom 104 days after leaving. On August 19, 2017, on 8th May, Buhari left Nigeria to London for medical checkup upon arrival from USA, and he returned on Friday 11th May 2018. Economy. Buhari was an attractive choice for many Nigerians because of perceived incorrupted character. Once in power, Buhari, who had earlier mobilized supporters in the three previous elections, was slow to manifest his intention to solve problems. He mentioned bringing his campaign determination to initiate his domestic policy agenda, like naming of cabinet officials, took 6 months, while the passage of the 2016 and 2017 budget were delayed by infighting. In Buhari's first years in office, Buhari suffered a decline in commodity prices, which triggered an economic recession. To resource funds to close shortfall in revenue and fund an expansionary capital budget, Buhari traveled to 20 countries seeking loans. Thereby, expansionary budget allocation to finance infrastructure was pushed back to a further date. In the first year of administration in Naira, the currency of Nigeria depreciated in the black market, leading to a gulf between an official exchange rate and a black market rate. A resulting shortage in foreign exchange hit various businesses, including petroleum marketers. However, the gulf between the official rate and black market rate opened up the opportunity for well-connected individuals to engage in arbitrage, making a mockery of presidents and corruption image. In May 2016, the government announced a rise in the official pump price of petroleum to certain shortfall in commodity as a result of foreign exchange shortages. In 2016, the country's economy declined by 1.6%, and in 2017, per capita economic growth is projected to be negligible. Buhari's first tenure as head of state coincided with a decline in oil prices similar to his second stint, but his administration has not shown dedicated effort to diversify sources of government spending. The 2018 budget signaled an expansionary fiscal policy with funds dedicated to infrastructure projects such as strategic roads, bridges, and power plants. Since an upturn in economic growth from the decline of 2016, a slow pace of recovery has the country behind many of its continental neighbors in GDP growth. Unemployment levels remained high, and any effort to increase non-oil revenue has not improved, while government deficit spending includes a significant portion of its yearly budget dedicated to service debts. Buhari, with the support of central bank chief, initiated the policies to improve agriculture production through robbing private banks to rent a sector, and restriction of foreign exchange at official rate for importation of food products that are grown locally. In his second term, the Budget Minister Udo Udoma and Trade Minister Enemara, both of whom favored liberalization, were not returned. The government continued to operate flexible exchange rates into the second term of administration despite critics alluding to the exchange rate regime of being susceptible to arbitrage, abuse, and round-tripping by cronies of the government. Social welfare. In 2016, Buhari launched the National Social Investment Program, a national social welfare program. The program was created to ensure a more equitable distribution of resources to vulnerable populations, including children, youth, and women. There are four programs which addressed poverty, unemployment, and help increase economic development. The Any-Power program provided young Nigerians with jobs, training, and education, as well as monthly stipend of 30,000 Nigerian naira. Any-Power is a social investment scheme initiated by President Muhammadu Buhari on 8 June 2016 in an attempt to boost the youth empowerment rate. The scheme was established as a core component of National Social Investment Program to cushion the skills acquisition, training, and capacity building in the beneficiaries. The Conditional Cash Transfer Program (CCTP) directly supports the most vulnerable by providing cash to those in the low-income group, helping reduce poverty, improve nutrition and self-sustainability, and supporting development through increased consumption. The Government Enterprise and Empowerment Program is a micro-lending entrepreneurship program targeting farmers, petty traders, and market women with a focus. This program provides no-cost loan to its beneficiaries, helping reduce the startup cost of business venture in Nigeria. The program includes trade money, market money, and farm money. The National Homegrown School Feeding Program is attempted to increase school enrollment by providing free meals to school children, particularly those in poor and food insecure regions. The program works with local farmers and empowers women as cooks, building the community and sustaining economic growth from farm to table. The program was previously coordinated from the office of Vice President Yemi Osibanjo until 2019, when the program was moved to the new Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development under Sadia Umar Farouk. In his 2019 Independence Day speech, the president attributed the movement to the need to have the programs institutionalized. Anti-corruption: the $2 billion arms deal (USD) was exposed following the interim report of Buhari's investigation committee on arms procurement under the Goodluck Jonathan administration. The committee report showed extra budgetary spend to the tune of 643 billion naira and additional spending of about 2.2 billion USD in a foreign currency component under Goodluck Jonathan's watch. Preliminary investigation suggested that about 2 billion USD may have been disbursed for the procurement of arms to fight against Boko Haram insurgents in Nigeria. The investigative report indicated that a total sum of 2.2 billion USD was inexplicably discharged into the Office of National Security Advisor in the procurement of arms to fight against insurgents, but was not spent for the purpose for which the money was disbursed. Investigations on this illegal deal led to the arrest of Sambo Dasuki, the former National Security Advisor, who later mentioned prominent Nigerians involved in the deal. Those who were mentioned and arrested included Raymond Dokpes, the chair emeritus of DAAR Communication PSL, Atahiru Bafarawa, the former governor of Sokoto State, and Bashir Yuguda, the former Minister of State for Finance, Azubuike Ihejirika, the Chief of Army Staff, Adesola Nunayo Amoso, the former Chief of Air Staff, Alex Bade, and several other politicians were mentioned. On 21st December 2016, the government's Federal Ministry of Finance announced a whistleblowing policy with a 2.5% to 5% reward. The aim is to obtain relevant data or information regarding the violation of financial regulations, the mismanagement of public funds, and arrests, financial malpractice, fraud, and safety. In May 2018, the Economic and Financial Crime Commission, Nigeria's anti-corruption agency, announced that 600 Nigerian figures had been convicted on corruption charges since Buhari took office in 2015. The EFCC also announced that for the first time in Nigerian history, judges and top military officers, including retired service chiefs, are being prosecuted for corruption. The successful prosecution were also credited to Buhari's EFCC head Ibrahim Magu. Under Buhari, Chief Justice of Nigerian Court Walter Onogen was convicted by the Code of Conduct Tribunal of April 18, 2019 for false asset declaration. In December 2019, Muhammadu Bello Adoke, the former Attorney General of Federation, was extradited to Nigeria to stand trial on corruption charges. In January 2020, however, Transparency International still gave Nigeria a low performance in the Corruption Perception Index. In 2020, Ibrahim Magu, the EFCC chairman, was arrested by the Department of State Service over damaging security reports concerning his activities as Buhari administration leading anti-corruption figure and alleged financial irregularities. He was later replaced by Muhammad Omar. In December 2020, former Pension Reform Task Force head Abdulrasheed Maina, who was arrested in a neighboring country of Niger after jumping bail, appeared in Abuja court on a 12-count charge of fraud and money laundering. Ali Ndume, a senator representing Borno South, was arrested after jumping bail as well. On security issues, Niger Delta. Nigeria has the second largest reserves of crude oil in Africa. Reserves largely found in Niger Delta region of the country. Years of oil production have resulted in negative impact on farming and fishery by oil spillage. The government initiated the hydrocarbon pollution remediation project to help clean up Ogoniland, while other state governors within the region want a similar setup. HY was initiated in 2005 but has been slow to commence remediation works in Ogoniland. Nonetheless, there are still intermittent attacks on oil facilities by groups such as Nigeria Delta Avengers. This has significantly affected oil production, leading to cuts in exports and government revenue. The Avengers are waged conflict for great economic and political autonomy. Shia Muslims, the Islamic movement of Nigeria led by Sheikh Ibrahim Zakzak, is one of the country's leading organizations of Shia Muslim. Nigeria's Muslim population is mainly Sunni, while the Shia population have gone through sporadic persecution by government after the Islamic movement was accused of attacking against Chief of Army Staff Tukur Buratai in December 2015. Zukuzak's base was shelled, causing hundreds of fatalities with Zukuzak. While Zukuzak was arrested, Zukuzak was held for almost 6 years aside from a 3-day medical trip to India until being acquitted and released in July 2021. Biafran separatists, a separatist group, the indigenous people of Biafra and led by Nnamdi Kanu, became high profile in 2015 for advocating independence of the separate nation of Biafra. A breakaway Biafra republic was briefly formed during Nigeria's civil war. In October 2015, Kanu was arrested in allegation of treason. His arrest was followed by protests against his detention across many southern states. Kanu later jumped bail and fled abroad to help lead the low-level insurgents in southeastern Nigeria before being arrested by Interpol and brought back to Nigeria. Boko Haram. Since 2015, the fight against extremists had taken a new dimension. Internally, the groups have splintered into the traditional Boko Haram sect controlled by Abubakar Shekau and Islamic State in the West African province controlled by Abu Musab al-Banawi. After groups supported by Al-Qaeda in Islamic Maghreb, such as Ansar, who were driven from Mali due to the French-led Operation Sahel, has surfaced and cooperated with Boko Haram despite being its rival. This was mostly out of necessity as the two factions could not risk to weaken themselves by fighting each other. In February 2020, over 250 Ansar members were killed in a police raid in Bani Ngwari. In October 2016, government negotiated a deal with terrorist group Boko Haram, which secured the release of 21 Chibok girls. By December 2016, the government had recovered much of terrorists previously held by Boko Haram, and after a capture of Sambisa Forest, Buhari announced that Boko Haram has been technically defeated. The insurgents displaced about 2 million people from their homes, and the recapture of towns now present humanitarian challenges in health, education, and nutrition. On 6 May 2017, Buhari's government secured a further release of 82 out of 276 girls kidnapped in 2014 in exchange of Boko Haram leaders. On 7 May 2017, President Buhari met with the 82 released Chibok girls before departing to London, UK for a follow-up treatment for an undisclosed illness. Shekau committed suicide after his group was encircled by ISWAP revolts in May 2021. In the following months, hundreds of repentant terrorists surrendered to the government, many likely loyal to Shekau. Farmer hunter violence. The Middle Belt region of Nigeria have been vulnerable to clashes between farmers and cattle herders. Two groups tried to secure arable land for grazing or farming and access to water. The intensity and the politicization of conflict along ethnic and religious divides increased during the administration of Buhari as instances of conflicts feared in parts of southern Nigeria. About 300 civilians were killed in a village in Benue State, middle belt of the country, and about 40 civilians were killed in Enugu in southeastern Nigeria. The violence had displaced upward of 250,000 villagers who migrated to cities ill-prepared to handle the influx of migrants. The conflict between farmers, many of whom are largely Christians, and herders, who are predominantly Muslim, has stoked religious tension, not helped when the president sent in military troops disarmed ethnic Christian militias, which critics alleged of his lukewarm towards armed cattle herders. The administration efforts to solve the conflict led to National Livestock Transformation Plan to modernize cattle grazing and stabilize Middle Belt region. In 2017, Ruga, acronym of Rural Grazing Area, but also a word meaning cattle in Fulani, was a proposed solution that came from the Liberation of Transformation Plan. Ruga was to set aside grazing areas for herders as they migrate south. However, many southern states opposed an involuntary acquisition of land for Ruga, and the plan was suspended. Bantry in North Nigeria. Since 2015, Buhari administration has suffered with an increased spate of Bantry-related activity in northern Nigeria. The Abuja-Kaduna highway have been termed as highway of kidnapping due to the rampant atrocity committed by bandits. In February 2020, the Northern Elders Forum, a social-political organization, said the administration has failed Nigerians in terms of security. By July 2021, about 45 people a day were kidnapped, largely by bandits for ransom. Other bandits focused on stealing cattle, camels, and other livestock, while some groups attacked and seized control of entire villages and wider territories. The bandits led to fears of collaboration between bandits and northeastern terrorists, with those fears being confirmed in August 2021, when the Nigeria Immigration Service reported that large groups of Zamfara-based bandits were traveling to Borno State for training from Boko Haram. National issues. Ruga policy. Buhari administration introduced the controversial Ruga policy, human settlement policy aimed of resolving the conflict between nomadic Fulani herdsmen and sedentary farmers. The policy, which is currently suspended, would create reserved community where sheds will live, grow, and tend their cattle. produce milk, and undertake other activities associated with cattle business without having to move around in search of grazing land for their cows. Alleged demilitarization. Buhari has faced a lot of criticism in office. In 2019, his government came under widespread criticism over the unfair treatment of US-based social activists so worry during his trial despite the court granted him bail. This move was largely condemned with Soros himself stating that Buhari had violated his civic space. In December 2019, Nigeria's newspaper Giants Punch stated that henceforth they have addressed Buhari's administration as a regime and subsequently address him as General Buhari, as his military-like administration was a far cry from democracy. They insisted that he was a military dictator, a move that was greeted with mixed receptions on social media. COVID-19 pandemic. Following the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic in Nigeria, Buhari established a presidential task force for a control of virus in the country. On 23rd March, Buhari's chief of staff Abba Chari tested positive for COVID-19, sparking fear that Buhari may have been infected. It was later revealed that Buhari tested negative on March 30th. Buhari announced a two-week lockdown on major cities Abuja, Lagos, and Ogun. On 14th October, Presidential Task Force on COVID warned about a potential second wave if guidelines and protocols are not adhered to strictly. End CARS process. In October 2020, protests against alleged police brutality of Special Police Unit of Nigerian Police Force, the Special Anti-Robbery Squad (SARS), erupted in Lagos and other major cities. The SARS movement, with no centralized leadership beyond the small assembly that organized the initial protests, share similarity with the 2012 Occupy movement. On 12th October, a day after demonstrators declared their demand, Buhari announced the disbandment of SARS. And promised extensive policy reforms. Since independence in 1960, the Nigerian police force have been at forefront of tackling organized crime in Nigeria, with the recent spate of banditry, cultism, drug trafficking, fraud, and kidnapping drastically affecting its personnel capacity, leaving a vacuum for SARS members to exploit and commit extrajudicial killings. On 12th October, Muhammad Adam, the Inspector General of Police, announced the creation of a new unit, the Special Weapons and Tactics (SWAT), to take over the duties of SARS. This move did not satisfy most demonstrators, who expected a substantial overhaul of the police structure. On 14th October, the demonstration continued with at least 10 protesters being killed and violent clashes occurred between pro-SARS and anti-SARS protesters, with the elite Presidential Guard Brigade intervening in the federal capital. On 12 June 2021, there was a deployment of Nigerian Police Force and Nigerian Army to the streets nationwide to curb the planned protest by the youth. The demonstration of this was to prevent the incidents from the End SAR protest that happened in October 2020. Foreign policy. Buhari described the military crackdown by the Myanmar Army and police on Rohingya Muslims as ethnic cleansing and warned of a disaster like the Rwandan genocide. Nigeria and South Africa between them share about 50% of Africa's economic output, but both countries' macroeconomic structure is hampered by high poverty rates, youth unemployment, and decline in capital investment. About 600,000 Nigerians have immigrated to South Africa to seek out better economic opportunities, and like in Nigeria, it is an economic struggling with its own high unemployment rates. Tensions between immigrants and the local populace have occasionally flared up in 2008, 2015 and 2019. The last resulted in violence between migrants, including Nigerians and Black South Africans. The leaders of both countries met in early October 2018 to discuss measures to improve the relationship between both countries, which have been affected not only by anti-immigrant violence in South Africa, but issues about profit repatriation by South African firms operating in Nigeria. Buhari is also first president to call a global threat to end violence against women and girls. Controversies USD 2.8 billion NNPC scandal during his tenure as Federal Commissioner of Petroleum and Natural Resources. 2.8 billion USD allegedly went missing from accounts of Nigeria National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) in Midlands Bank in the United Kingdom. General Ibrahim Babangida director accused Buhari of being responsible for this fund. However, in a conclusion of crude oil sale tribunal of inquiry headed by Justice Ayo Irikefe to investigate allegations of $2.8 billion misappropriation from any NPC account. The tribunal found no truth in the allegation, even though it notes some lapses in the NPC accounts. Chadian military affair in 1983, when Chadian forces invaded Nigeria in Borno State, Buhari used the forces under his command to chase them out of the country, crossing into Chadian territory in spite of an order given by President Shagari to withdraw. This 1983 Chadian military affair led to more than 100 victims and prisoners of war. Umaru Diko affair was another defining moment in Buhari's military government. Umaru Diko, a former Minister of Transport under the previous civilian administration of President Shagari, who fled to the country shortly after the coup, was accused of embezzling of 1 billion USD in oil profits. With the help of alleged former Mossad agents, the NSO traced him to London, where operatives from Nigeria and Israel dragged and kidnapped him. They placed him in a plastic bag, which was subsequently hidden inside a crate labeled as diplomatic baggage. The purpose of this secret operation was to ship Diko off to Nigeria on an empty Nigerian Airways Boeing 747 to stand trial for embezzlement. The plot was foiled by British airport officers. 53 Suitcases Saga. Buhari administration was embroiled in a scandal concerning the fate of 53 suitcases which unknown contents. The suitcases were being transported by a man of Gwandu whose son was Buhari's aide-de-camp and were cleared through customs on 10 June 1984 without inspection during his return flight from Saudi Arabia. PTF allocation to the military. While Buhari was chairman of Petroleum Transport Fund (TPF), critics have questioned the PTF's allocation of 20% of its resources to the military, which they feared would not be accountable for the revenue. Akane Saxon, 27 August 2001, Nigeria. Buhari calls for Sharia in all states. 23rd January 2015, at the Work Machine, he was quoted in 2001 as saying, "I will continue to show openly and inside me the total commitment to Sharia movement that is sweeping all over Nigeria." He then added, "God will, we will not stop the agitation for the total implementation of Sharia in the country." Buhari has denied all allegations that he has a radical Islamic agenda. On 6 January 2015, Buhari said, "Because they can't attack our records, they accuse me falsely of ethnic jingoism. They accuse me falsely of religious fundamentalism. Because they cannot attack our record, they accuse us falsely of calling for election violence, which we have only insisted on peace. Even as head of state, we never impose Sharia." Mediation of Boko Haram. In 2012, Buhari's name was included on the list published by Boko Haram of individuals it would trust to mediate between the group and the federal government. However, Buhari strongly objected and declared to mediate between the government and Boko Haram. In 2013, Buhari made a series of statements when he asked the federal government to stop the killing of Boko Haram members and blamed the rise of terrorist groups on the prevalence of Niger Delta militants in the south. Buhari stated that what is responsible for the security situation in the country is caused by activities of Niger Delta militants. The Niger Delta militants started it all. He also questioned the special treatment, including close to $5 million a year paid to 30,000 militants under the amnesty program since 2013 by federal government and the fact the fact that the Boko Haram members are killed and their houses destroyed. Abolishing the office of the First Lady. In December 2014, Muhammadu Buhari went on the record to say he would abolish the office of First Lady if he was elected as president, claiming it was unconstitutional. The Movement of Emancipation of Niger Delta, a Nigerian militant group that endorsed Buhari during 2015 general election, condemned Buhari for his plan and went on to say that the office of First Lady was obviously an irrelevant, fraudulent, and unconstitutional office whose only purpose is to further plunder the resources of the country. Since assuming the presidency on 29 May 2015, Buhari was yet to terminate the office of the First Lady. Aisha Buhari operates from the office of the First Lady as wife of the president. Having suggested the abolition of the office of the president, Buhari has further aired some controversial statements about women. On his visit to the Germany's Angela Merkel, Buhari reiterated, "I don't know which party my wife belongs to, but she belongs to my kitchen and my living room and the other room after his wife had earlier advised him to step up his leadership. Plagiarism scandal. In September 2016, President Buhari came under heavy criticism after a newspaper reported finding him using plagiarized speech during the launching of nationally oriented campaign tagged "Change Began With Me". The speech was later found to be lifted from 2009 inaugural speech of former US President Barack Obama. The presidency later apologized and said the blunder was caused by overzealous staff and those responsible will be sanctioned. However, 1 week later, a deputy director in the State House linked the speech was redeployed and the presidency assured the Nigerian public that it has taken steps to avoid a repeat of such an embarrassing occurrence by implementing digital tools that detect plagiarism. Twitter ban. After Buhari made a Twitter post threatening violence against Biafran insurgents in southeastern Nigeria on 5th June 2021, Twitter deleted his comments as a violation of its terms of service. Shortly thereafter, the Nigerian government banned Twitter from the country entirely. They lifted the ban on the 13th of January 2022 after they said Twitter had agreed to register its operations in Nigeria and pay tax. Personal life, family. In 1971, Buhari married his first wife, Safinatu Yusuf. They have 5 children together, 4 girls and 1 boy. Their first daughter, Zulai, was named after Buhari's mother. Their other children are Fatuma Musa, deceased son, Hadiza and Safinatu. In 1988, Buhari and his first wife Safinatu divorced. On 14th January 2006, Safinatu died from complication of diabetes. In November 2012, Buhari's first daughter, Zulaihat Buhari Junaid, died from sickle cell anemia 2 days after having a baby at a hospital in Kaduna. In December 1989, Buhari remarried his second and current wife Aisha Buhari ne Hariru. They also have 5 children together, a boy and 4 girls, Aisha, Halima, Yusuf, Zahara and Amina. Yusuf married Zahara Nasad Bayero, the daughter of Emir Nasiru Odo Bayero, in August 2021. Buhari is Muslim. In 2015, Buhari declared 150,000 USD cash in addition to 5 homes and 2 mud houses, as well as farms, an orchard, and a ranch of 270 heads of cattle, 25 sheep, 5 horses, and a variety of birds shared in 3 farms, 2 undeveloped plots of land, and 2 cars bought from his savings. In summary, His Excellency Major General Muhammadu Buhari GCFR, 7th and 15th President of Nigeria, assumed office on 29th May 2015. His Vice President Yemi Osibanjo proceeded by Goodluck Jonathan in office. 31st December 1983 to 27th August 1985 as the military head of state of Nigeria, Chief of Staff Tende Osiagibo, succeeded by Shehu Shagari. preceded by Shehu Shagari, succeeded by Ibrahim Babangida. Assumed in the office 11th November 2015, Minister of State Emmanuel Ibe Chakichu Timipere Silva, preceded by Diezan Alison Madueke in the office March 1976 to June 1978 as Federal Commissioner of Petroleum and National Resources. Head of state was Olusegun Obasanjo. Governor of Borno in office the 3rd February 1976 to 15th March 1976, preceded by not established, succeeded by Mustafa Amin in office 1st August 1975 to 3rd February 1976 as Governor of Northeastern State. Head of State Murtala Muhammadu, succeeded by Musa Osman, succeeded by office abolished when the state was removed. Personal details: Muhammadu Buhari, born 17th December 1942. He is Eite. Daura, North Region, British Nigeria, now Katsina, Nigeria. Political party All Progressive Congress from 2013 to present. Other party affiliation All Nigeria People's Party 2002 to 2010, Congress for Progressive Change 2010 to 2013. Spouses: Safinatu Yusuf, married 1971, divorced 1988. Aisha Buhari, married 1989. Relations: Mama Daura, nephew. Children 10, namely Zulaihat, deceased; Fatima, Musa, deceased; Madiza, Safinatu, Halima, Yusufa, Zara, Aisha, Amina. Resident: Aso Villa, official resident; Arimata, Nigeria Military Training College; Mons Officer Cadet School, U.S. Army War College. Occupation: politician and soldier. Military service: Allegiance Nigeria, branch service, military, Nigerian Army. Years of service from 1961 to 1985. Rank: Major General. Battles and wars: Nigerian Civil War and Chadian Niger War. Thank you very much for being with us. Today we focused about the outgoing president of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari. Thank you very much for being with us. See you in other upcoming videos, and God bless everyone.